There's something in me that I want to create stuff. But the guitar gives me an outlet where I can make something. It's pretty cool, people appreciate it.
I ain't never coming back, baby, that's a fact, and I can't love you anymore.
I just like being out here on the bench working. That's what I like, probably better than anything. We're Triggs Guitars. I'm Jim, this is Ryan. We hand make guitars, mandolins, and banjos. We're a father-son team. I've been doing this about 40 years. Ryan's been with me for 20 years, and he's out here with me in the shop most days, you know, making sawdust. That's what we do for a living. It started out as a hobby. I was playing banjo back in high school, and then I wanted a Gibson mandolin. Back then, they were, I think, $1,500 or $1,800, which for a guy making $1.60 an hour at the grocery store wasn't in my budget. So I decided to try to make one. It took about a year because I didn't know what I was doing, first of all. A friend of mine saw it after it was strung up, and he goes, "Hey, will you make me one?" So I thought, hey, I might be able to make a few of these things. Started making mandolins full time.
There's a soul to what we make. I think these instruments they're living, breathing things, and they evolve over time. You know, that's part of what we're selling, is the hands-on craft approach.
We're using the same techniques to build these as Martin did and Gibson did early on. It all came from the violin lute. Guys have been doing it for hundreds of years.
Our practices here in the shop, doing things by hand instead of mechanically. For me, it's the only way to get that sound and that feel. You know, this is kind of almost a lost art as far as, you know, building by hand. That's how they used to be made in the 30s, 40s, 50s.
We try to make stuff that sounds 60 years old right out the gate, and that's not easy to do.
You know, it might take 8 to 10 months from taking a slab of wood until delivering the product. But for us, it's worth it. We're gonna put in the extra time, and it ends up being a piece of art in the end.
Probably the most excited that I get about instrument construction is what I would call whitewood, which is the instrument before any finish is put on it. I get so excited when I see a nice piece of maple, because I can envision what it's going to look like when it's done. I know what different arches are on different guitars and even different eras of the same guitar. It's all up here. It's hard to explain when somebody asks you, how do you know that? I don't know. A lot of what I do is by feel and gut. It's worked for 40 years, and I'm too old to start using machines.
Even though you know what the wood looks like and how it feels, you don't know exactly what it's going to sound like. You just don't know. It's a mystery.
My favorite part is probably after 6, 8, 9 months, you know, you've done hundreds of hours worth of work. You're starting to string it up, and you might hear something you really like, because stringing the instrument up is the baby being born, you know. I can pluck one string and hear one note and know what the whole guitar is going to sound like. You get that chill up your spine. Oh, this thing is going to sound awesome, you know.
That moment, oh, I made this. You know, it's just it's a crazy feeling. growing up, he'd have me sweep in the shop, you know, when I was a teenager and things like that. Never was super interested in what he was doing, you know, caught up in my own world. But then when I got into playing guitar myself, that's kind of when I started appreciating musical instruments, I guess, for what they are, and kind of light bulb went off, you know, hey, I can learn from him, you know. Not that many people have this opportunity, and this might be something I want to do as a career. You know, it's turned into a family business, but it's more than that. You know, for me, just getting to be with my dad and create these pieces of musical instrument art, you can't put a price on it, you know, so.
I've done, I think, just about everything that I wanted to do. I've made enough guitars in my life that it's still fun as long as he's here, you know. There's been some people ask me, Jim, if you retire, what would you do? And honestly, I've told them I'd probably make guitars and give them to my friends. I just like making guitars.